Hello, hello. Mm. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Mm. Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. All right. I think everything is set. All right. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Excellent. Hi, welcome, everyone. Hi, Aida. Good to see you. I'm loving your top, by the way. Hi, Renee. I see that you are connecting from Texas. That's excellent. We have Enlor from Enlor. I actually don't know how to say your name properly, but I've read it so many times, from France. Helena, where are you connecting from? All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. Aida, how are you? Where are you connecting from? Are you in the States?
Yes, I'm in San Francisco, California.
That's right. I remember now. Well, so good to see you. Welcome, everyone. I'm not sure how many people we're going to have today, but that's okay. I think this class is going to be one of those really good resources to have on the website for anyone making the Camellia cardigan to access later on. We're going to be covering quite a lot of things, so I'm going to be working a bit fast just so that we can cover the whole thing when it comes to construction of Camellia, the stitch patterns, and then how to adapt the pattern to fit your body. All right, so we're going to be doing quite a bit of stuff. So we're going to start first with the construction. So I'm going to draw kind of how the yoke is constructed so that you can have more of a visual idea of it. And then we're going to get to work with our yarn. If you want to follow along with your yarn with me, that's okay. If you don't want to, then that's completely fine as well. You can just see it with me. Now I'm going to be using my other screen. And I'm going to, oof, I never get right how, if I need to pin myself or if I need to spotlight myself. So you're gonna have to help me to make sure that you can see both. Can you see the white screen and can you see my face?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. That's what I wanted. Okay. So we're going to start talking about the construction of Camellia. I know we're like jumping in, but we do have a lot to go over and I don't want us to miss out on anything. But if at any time you guys have a question, I can't see you where I am right now. So you need to either turn on your microphone and ask the question, or maybe if you raise your hand, I might be able to see you. But don't feel embarrassed to like interrupt me if there's something's not clear or if you want me to repeat something, okay? It's hard for me to look at the chat and look at your faces and look at everything at the same time. But anyway, so let's get started then. So Camellia is worked top down and it's a really, really fun construction because it's super simple, but it kind of takes a little bit of time to get used to it because we're not used to this kind of construction in crochet garments. So the first thing you do with Camellia is do your starting chain and then you work what we call like a trapezoid, I think is the shape. So it looks something like this. And this is the back of the garment. So this is the back of the neck. And then this is the back. And this is as wide as our shoulders will be. Okay, so this is the very first thing that you make. Then after that, you make what I call the shoulder tabs that go over here to complete the yoke. Now, if you are working a shawl neckline, which is what I did with my yellow sample, then instead of doing these shoulder tabs on their own, you're going to do the shawl neck first. So let me just erase this. So you're going to make a little square that's going to cover around half of the back of the neck. This is separate, okay? Completely separate to the back in a completely different piece of yarn. And then you create the first half of the shawl. The width of this indicates how wide the shawl will be. If you don't want it too wide, then don't make that too many stitches. And the pattern gives you some suggestions. Once you have that rectangle finished, then you're going to join it by working downwards, change colors, downwards, and then connecting to the back of the neck, and then continuing downwards along this diagonal. Now, that is the trickiest part to understand when you are working the Camellia. And Laura, you made it, and I think we had a bit of an issue, right? Figuring it out how to join those two, but that is the trickiest part. Once you understand that, and there's a video that walks you through all of that as well, it will make a lot more sense. But you work the shawl, and then you continue along the diagonal on the back. Any questions so far? Sorry. I think someone has their microphone on. They're not talking. I don't know. It's all right. Okay. So that is the beginning. And then after that, you're just going to work on rows that go up and down and cover the shoulder and the shawl neckline until you have your shoulder tab. That would look something like this. Oh. That was very bad. Okay. And then you do the other side of the shawl neck, which again, we start from here, but we work separate to the back, and we simply extend the back of the neck until around here, until the end of the back of the neck. And then you are going to connect that shawl neck to the back, but instead of starting from up here, you're going to start from this corner. Whoop, oopsie. From this corner down here. And what you've done is that this yarn at the end of the back, you left it live. You actually didn't cut that yarn. So you're just going to retake it and then go upwards and then continue into the shawl in this direction. And then work. Yes?
I have a question. Are those two pieces that are the shawl collar, are they connected to the back neck now, or is that done later?
That's done at the very, very end. The connection happens along the side here to the diagonal of the back, but this bit in the back, that doesn't get connected until the end. Yeah, so you have a big gap in the middle, but it's, you just sew it up at the end and it's super easy. Yeah. So then after you've connected it with one row, then you simply continue your shoulder tab with your shawl neckline. And there you go. And that is the beginning of the yoke, which seems so weird, right? It's not something that we're used to, not this kind of construction, but that's what it would look like. And if you're not working a shawl neckline, it would look very, very similar. Just like this. Okay, and there are pictures in the pattern that show you exactly what it should look like. And then the fun part comes working around all of those places. So from this point on, the shawl neckline stitches are going to be here. And this is going to be the front shawl. And then here on the side of the rows of the shoulder tab, that's where the sleeve is going to come in. And then this is the back. Then the other sleeve. Then the other front. And then the other shawl. If you're not working a shawl neckline, it's going to be exactly the same, but without the shawl. So this is the front. This is the sleeve. This is the back, sleeve, and front. And all you're going to do is simply work along, down, 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 around, around, and around. And there will be markers on each corners. So you will have a marker here separating the shawl from the front, a marker here separating the front from the sleeve, a marker here starting the sleeve, another marker here finishing the sleeve, another marker here starting the back, another marker here at the beginning of the back, at the end of the back, then the beginning of sleeve, end of sleeve, beginning of front, and end of front. So that will be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 markers along your row as you work the shawl. And then after that, you're going to work, let me just, any questions so far, guys? Oh God, I don't know how to stop sharing. Stop share. There you go. Any questions so far? That was like the basics of the construction of the yoke. And then after that, you're going to follow the chart, the tables. Host. Okay. So let me show you the tables for those of you who haven't had a look at the pattern. Now, the tables on the pattern, sorry, they're very big. There you go. So if we go at the very bottom, at the very end of the pattern, here are the tables. So here we have our neck increases, front increases, sleeve increases, and back increases. And remember those 10 markers that we put at the beginning of the yoke? Those markers are the ones that are going to match these increases. So where, for example, I have an increase at the neck, then when I get to the neck marker, that's where I will increase. And then when I get to the front marker on row 1, there are no increases. There's nothing marked there. So I'm simply going to work that stitch without increasing at all. When I get to my sleeve marker, I do have an increase. So I will work an increase on the sleeve marker, but not on the back. And this is how you're going to go along each row to follow what you need to do at each increase. And that's why it's one of the advice that I put on the pattern and on the video is to color code your table with the same colors as your markers. So for example, if you're using orange markers on the neck increases, then you can paint or color this one orange. And then at the front increases, if you're using blue markers, then color this one blue. The sleeves, let's say that we're using green, so we color it green. In the back, we're using pink, so we'll color it pink. And that way, when you're following along and you're looking at your chart, you don't even have to know, is this the back? Is this the front? You're just like, oh, this is a blue marker. Do I need to increase here? Yes or no? Oh, no. Okay, keep going. So it just makes life so much easier to use markers that match your table. So always print them out and use markers of different colors. Okay? Any questions about the construction, guys? No? Great. So yeah, in the construction, after you have, oh, how do I stop annotating? There. After you've managed to complete all of your tables, so you just keep going around and around, just like I showed you in that other drawing, where, you know, you have your 10 markers, just keep going around and around and around, and that will increase in the right places, and it's going to end up looking like this. So this is after the separation row, so you can see my chains there, but, you know, it will look basically like that. So this is after I have my shawl, so here's my shawl. And then this is where my neck marker was. Then this is where the front marker was and my sleeve marker, and the same at the back. And then front and sleeve, back and sleeve behind those, and then front. And I just went around and around and around, and you increase at certain places. So the sleeve increases quite regularly, and then the front and the back only increase at the bottom. And the neck increases quite regularly as well. So if you don't have a shawl neckline, it will look like that just without the shawl. It's the same kind of V formation. Okay? And then after that, it's just the body. Like the body is quite simple, right? Like you just keep going straight. Oopsie. How do I clear everything? Yeah. So the body just keep working straight. And this is where the fun part happens, where you get to use your imagination and your creativity to create something that is completely unique, because we have our lace panels and we also have our hip shaping. So depending on where you are putting the lace panels and depending how long the garment is, it comes to your judgment when you are going to do hip increasing and when you are going to do lace panels. On my small sample, on my little short one, I didn't do any hip increases at all because it's cropped, and I only did the lace panels at the bottom. So you can see on the pattern, let me see where it says. Yeah, here it says, so on the yellow sample where I did my first panels, and in the pink sample where I did my second panel. So after 34 rows or 19 centimeters from the underarm, that's where I did my one lace panel. So you get to choose how separate you want the lace panels. If you just want one lace panels, if you don't want any lace at all, some of the testers didn't do any lace. Some of them did 2 rows of lace first, and then 3 rows on the next one, and then 4 rows on the next one, and then 5 rows on the next one. So it looks really cool because it's kind of growing like that. So that's really cool as well. And then you get to decide how separate they are. And kind of when you hit the bottom of your waist, the smallest part of your waist, that's where you're going to start the hip shaping. So that's where you're going to start increasing. So you do have to kind of keep track of how far low you've gone, so that you don't go too low and then your hip increases start too low, which is kind of what I did with my yellow one. I wish I had started earlier so that I could have made it bigger, made it wider, because I didn't do enough rows, I don't think. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I know it's a lot of information when it comes to construction, but that is how Camellia is constructed. And I hope it gives you an idea of kind of the shaping and all of the different options that you get to do. Any questions so far? No? Great. Okay, well, let's do a little bit of yarn work. And I'm going to go over the stitch pattern that we use for Camellia and the different increases and decreases. So I don't know if you noticed on the chart, on the table, sorry. So on the table, there are 2 different kinds of increases. So we have our V increases and our O increases. So they are each different, and you're going to have to pay attention. If you've done a V increase in the previous row, then you're going to do an O increase on the next one, okay? So I'm going to teach you how those 2 look. Now, you can do as many stitches as you want. Feel free to, whoopsie, switch camera. There you go. Nope. Wrong one. There you go. So can you see my face and can you see my hands at the same time? Yeah? Excellent. That's what I need. Now, if you want me to just do my whole hands and not my face, tell me if it's easier for you. But it's up to you, okay? Now, you can do as many chains as you want. If you feel like you're quite a fast crocheter, then, feel free to make a long chain, as long as you have an odd number of stitches. Okay? Sorry. Just grab my yarn ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm going to do 9 stitches because I'm not the fastest. And actually, an even number of stitches because you need 1 more to chain up. Okay? So I have 10 stitches and I'm going to skip, or 10 chains. I'm going to skip the first one and I'm going to start working on the following chains. Now, I usually like to work on the back bumps of chains, but you don't have to if you don't want to, especially for a little sample. Now, for an extended single crochet, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And then chain 1, skip 1. And then do it again. Insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 1, skip 1. And then we're gonna do that all the way until the end. So extended single crochet, chain 1, skip 1. Extended single crochet, chain 1, skip 1. So that is the main stitch pattern that we're going to use. And there it is. Okay. Now, on the very first row, it's so difficult to tell where is the chain, where are the stitches. So working what I call a central extended single crochet is a bit tricky on the first row, or on the first row of central stitches. So if it feels too difficult for you on this one, don't worry about it. You can just skip it for now, but we can try to do it. So for this to be a central stitch, let me see if I can make it a bit less blurry. There you go. So on the front, I have 2 loops, 1 and 2. At the back, I also have 2, well, strands, not loops. So we want to go in between both at the front and the back. So in between these 2 at the front, and then I can see it behind me. I can see that other one. I'm going to go in between that one. And that's where the central stitch is. And again, extend single crochet. A good trick is to use this the hooky bit of the hook, the lip, I think it's called. And again, like this one, I can tell because I've made this stitch so many times, but it might be very difficult to tell that this is where you should go, in between those 2. So I can see 1 and 2 legs. I'm going to go in between, and same at the back. I can see 1 leg at each side of my hook, so I'm good. Now, like I said, this first row is so difficult because the stitches are quite wide, so it's really hard to tell where that central position is. But if you want to just skip it for now, and then we'll try to figure it out on the next one, it's gonna be okay. All right. Yeah. Such a tiny little swatch. And there you go. Okay. Chain 1 and turn. Now I can see them so much better. Can you see those legs right there? That V? Those are the 2 legs at the front, and then at the back, those are the 2 legs at the back. So it's so much easier as soon as you've gone to the next row. So you're gonna go in between those 2, and then you can sort of see that other leg behind. Let me show you with this one. So behind right here, you can see the other leg very, very easily. So you can just push your way in. Boop. And I know I'm making such a big deal about this. It's not that difficult. Like once you've done it a few times, it really does become easier. And depending on the hook I'm using, for this hook, I like to use this lip. And I'm gonna work the next row with a different hook so that you see how I do it with that one. And whichever one works better for you, that's the one you should use.
Sandra?
Yes, I did.
It might be easier to see this for us if you used a thicker yarn and bigger hook, maybe.
You know what? I wanted to do that, but the problem is that because with thicker yarn, it kind of fills in the spaces. It's actually a bit harder to see than just the little strands that are separated. I would have to use a really, really big hook, and then it's just gonna be a bit messy, I think. But I can try for my next one, okay? Let me just show you with my hook, and then I'll do another sample, okay? It might be easier once you kind of figure it out. All right, so yeah, so this is the last stitch. Okay, now the other hook that I used for this one is, this is a furls hook. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's a lot pointier. And for this one, instead of going with the lip, I just found it a lot easier to just kind of stab the stitch. And I always fell in the right spot. So depending on what hook you're using, you know, use a technique. See, this one's a bit tricky there. Use a technique that works better for you. Now, I am very new at using these furls hooks, so it feels very wobbly for me. But after a while, I got really used to it, and it was so much easier to just do the stabbing motion. And I kind of put my finger behind it so that I can just stab it in there. Oh, there you go. And by stabbing it on both sides in the central position, then that means that the fabric is completely reversible, which is pretty cool. Okay, let me work another sample with a bigger hook and a bigger yarn so that I can show you what it looks like.
Maybe big yarn and a smaller hook would be easier.
No, because it's gonna be too tight that way if I use a smaller hook. Like the stitches don't get too big, you know? Let me see.
Do
Okay.
the instructions have a diagram of this, a close-up diagram of the stitch?
Yeah, it does. And there's a video that I've made as well to accompany this stitch so that you can kind of get familiarized with it. Sorry. Whoop. And yeah, and everything's really well explained, but I just wanted to show you some of the tricks that I use. 1, 2, 3.
Is there a name for the stitch?
It's central extended single crochet. And then chain 1, skip 1. So the actual stitch pattern, I don't think it has a name. But yeah, central extended single crochet, chain 1, skip 1. And there are many reasons why I really like the stitch, but one of them is that because you have a chain in between every stitch, the fabric is very light. You don't get that heaviness that crochet has, but also it's not see-through because everything's quite tight together. It's not see-through. So I actually use very, very little yarn on my samples. I was surprised how much yeah, how well the yarn worked out. There you go. So this will look a little bit different than with fingering weight. Yeah, actually, I think you're right. It is easier to tell. So those are the front V's and then the back V's. And we're gonna go in between these two, and you can see this little loop right here. That's the one we want to go in between. So right there. Okay, so you can either use your hooky bit or you can just stab the stitch. I don't know about this. See, this hook is just not pointy enough to stab the stitch. So it doesn't really work for me. But depends on your hook shape. It might be okay for you to do that. All right, but this is the stitch pattern. And for me, it's very easy now. I've been making it for so long, so it doesn't really feel like extra work. But for some of my testers, it struggled a little bit at the beginning. But once they got into the rhythm, it became a lot easier. Okay, the increases on the pattern, there are 3 different kinds. So you increase 2, and then 2 different kinds of increase 1. So increase 2, the way we do it is, it's not on the first stitch. You always do it on the second stitch or in the penultimate stitch. So in the second stitch, you're going to do an increase 2 by making a central extended single crochet, chain 1, and central extended single crochet in the very same stitch. and you've increased 2 stitches, a chain and a central extended single crochet. And then you continue in pattern. So whenever the pattern says continue in pattern or work in pattern, it just means central extended, chain 1, skip 1, central extended, chain 1, skip 1, blah, blah, blah. Like that is the pattern. And there you go. I've increased 2. And on the way back, I'll be able to work on that one.
You just increased 1 though, right?
I increased 2 because the chains also count as stitches. Yeah. In this case, the chains also count as stitches. And that's very important to remember because when we increase by 1, we are going to either increase a central extended single crochet or a chain. And the chain increase also counts as a stitch. Okay. And there you go. So that is the stitch pattern. And that is my increase 2. Okay. Now, for increase 1, we have 2 different increases. We have a V increase and an O increase. The V increase just means 2 central extended single crochets in the same stitch. The O increase means the chain in between 2 V increase, 2 V stitches. So let me show you, okay? All right, so we have our central extended single crochet. Now let's say that our marker is in the next stitch, right here. Okay, so this is where our marker is, and this is where I need to increase. Actually, let me just put some markers on this so that we can follow along. Okay. Let's say that our marker is there. Okay, so I'm going to remove my marker and then increase 1, making a V increase first, which just means central extended single crochet and central extended single crochet. No chain in between. And then I'm going to place my marker where my pattern says. So either in the first stitch of the increase or in the second stitch, depending on where you are increasing. So let's say that this is the front and I need to increase at the front, then obviously it goes in the second stitch so that this first stitch belongs to the front. Yeah? All right, and then I continue in pattern, which means chain 1, central extended single crochet, etc. Okay. Now for the next row, let's say that in my marker, it says no increase. There is no increase mark. There's nothing in that square. That means I'm not going to increase here, which is completely fine. All I have to do is just, let me show you. Okay. So my pattern calls for a chain in between all extended single crochets, right? But because I can't increase right now, then instead of here, I've done my central extended single crochet, and instead of making a chain now, I'm just going to work my next central extended single crochet. So I am officially not respecting pattern, which is not, it feels wrong, but it is completely fine because I don't want to increase yet. I need to wait for my increase, but then I continue in pattern by chaining 1, central extended single crochet. So you do have to read your work a little bit, but also you have to just follow the table. If the table says that you had a V increase before, then you know you have 2 stitches together. So that means you don't increase. You don't want to do a chain in between them unless it says O increase. Now in this next one, let's say that we do have an O increase. Okay. When I get to this stitch, you can see them 2 together, you see? Right there, and there's no chain in between. So now I'm going to work my first one, and my O increase is just boop, chain 1. I've increased 1. and then I work my next stitch. And I place my marker here so that I don't forget where I left off. Chain 1 and continue. And that's it. Those are all of the increases that you will be using. Any questions so far? And this stitch is really cool because you can kind of see these lines where the stitches grow, and you can see how they separate. So when you actually have your garment, it looks like it's almost seamed on the edge just because you have these lines that kind of come out of it. It looks really, really pretty. So yeah, those are the increases that we use. We use the increase 2, where we central extended, chain 1, central extended in the same stitch. The V increase, where we do 2 central extended single crochets in the same stitch, and the increase O, which is just a chain in between the 2. Yeah? And then after that, we're going to use some decreases on the sleeves. So the decreases are done in 2 rows. So kind of like the O and the V. You do the same with the decreases, where you have, so let's say we have to decrease now. Instead of doing a chain, I skip the chain and I simply go to the next stitch. So I have officially decreased 1 stitch, right? And then, let me get to the end. Then we're going to go on the next row to complete that decrease 2 for the sleeves. Where we skip the chain, we're going to do a central extended single crochet 2 together. So I'm going to show you how it works, okay? Okay. So here, these 2 are together. There's no chain in between. So the way you join them is by insert your hook in the first one, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1. Insert your hook in the next one, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1. Now that I'm here, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then chain 1, central extended single crochet. And I have decreased 2 stitches. So on the first stage, on the first row of the decrease, I took away the chain in between them. And in the next one, I put them together into 1. So all the decreases on the sleeves are going to be done by 2 rows. Okay? And then when you work the next row, you'll see the way the decrease looks. So this is the decrease. You have 2 V's. You basically get to choose which V you want to work into. So if you want to go into the first one or into the second one, whichever one is easiest for you. So I'll do this one because it's easiest, easily seen. Chain 1. And then I don't work into this V, right? Because those are 2 together. So I go to the next stitch. And there you go. And that's how the sleeves are decreased. Any questions, guys? Okay. Now let me see how many stitches I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, epic. Okay, so the lace is done on multiples of 8 plus 1. And the lace is really, really easy. So you start with chain 1. I don't remember exactly how you start. Hold on. Let me just make sure I've got it right. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. So you chain 1 and then the first row of lace, you're always going to work on the central position again. So single crochet in the first one. just a regular single crochet in the first stitch. And you're going to skip 3 stitches. Chain, central extended single crochet, chain, and go to the next one. And this is where you're going to do the puff stitches. So for a puff, you yarn over, insert your hook, pull through, and kind of pull it long like this. And do it again. 1, 2, and 3. Now, I am not going to lie. I am not very good at puff stitches. My puff stitches just do not look very nice, and I do not enjoy very much making them. But they do look quite pretty, and a lot of people really like them. And you chain 2, and then do it again in the same stitch. So right now we're only working in the central position, right? 2 and 3. And then chain 2 and do it again. 1, 2, and 3. And there you go. That's the first flower. And then we skip 3 again. So chain, stitch, chain, and go to the next one and single crochet. Oh, I forgot to chain 1. Sorry. Chain 1 first. And then single crochet. Okay. So this is our first puff stitch of the lace. And then you work something in between, which has 3 double crochets in between each flower. But since we only have, we're on the corners here, we only started with 2 double crochets. Chain 1, chain 2, sorry. And then single crochet in the middle puff stitch. Right there. Chain 2. And then 2 double crochets. So since we only have 1 at the moment, I can't really show you what it looks like in between. But the whole point of the lace is that you will alternate puff stitches and then flower on the next one. And in between, that's where the flowers are worked. So let me show you the finished one. So here is the lace. So this is row 1. And then row 2 has the flowers in between the first flowers. And then the next one's in between. And we go like that. Okay. So right now we're working only this bit, so I can't really show you what it looks like in between, but it's the same story, just repeated over and over again. Okay, just the beginning and the end is the only thing that is different. So the next one starts with a flower, but since it's the edge, it's going to be half a flower. So I'm going to chain 1 and do a half double crochet. And then chain 2. And do another puff stitch here. So this is like the half a flower of the edge.
Sandra, does the gauge for these puff stitches change? In other words, do you get a little flare when you do these?
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, it does change, and that's why the pattern calls to change hook. I forgot to change hooks for this one. Normally, for the pattern, I use a 4.5 for the stitch pattern and a 3 millimeter for the lace. Yeah, so you do want to try it out. I mean, you could check it on your swatch to see that a 3 millimeter is enough. Make sure it doesn't flare out too much, or go lower or go higher, or you can just work the first row and kind of go from there. But just so you know, the lace does grow a lot, but none of my testers, I think, had issues finding the right gauge for in between lace panels. And they don't look weird or flary or anything. So I think about 4.5 to a 3, so a 1.5 millimeter difference is enough to keep the gauge even. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. Okay, sorry guys.
You could use the larger hook if you wanted to increase a little flare, like a peplum or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for like on mine where I just did the bottom lace, I think if I had kept like a 4.5 or maybe a 4, it would have been more like a little skirt. Yeah, it would grow a lot though. So just make sure that you're happy with that look. And yeah, and the lace does stretch a lot, so it would stretch even more if it's more open. Yeah, like all my testers had loads of not issues, but they were scared. They were like, it's too tight around the underarms. And I was such like, just trust the process. And then they blocked it and they're like, oh yeah, it fits perfectly. Because this stretch does have a lot of give. So you just make sure that you don't overwork your length. Especially if you're gonna be using a big hook for the lace, you might end up with a really, really long garment. And if that's what you want, then that's great. Okay, so after your puff, you chain 1, and then you're gonna work in the middle of the previous puff on that single crochet that we did. And then chain 1 and do the same thing at the end. So you're supposed to have 3, right? So you skip the first one and you work in the middle double crochet. And do it there. Okay. Chain 2 and then a half double crochet. And then the last row that will kind of connect the lace to the rest of the body, if that's what you want to. If you are doing it just at the bottom of your body, then this row would be the last one, so that you get the little curves at the bottom, like here. You get those little roundy bits. But if you're going to be working lace straight after that, then you want to repeat this middle row one more time. So you single crochet in the middle of the puff flower, chain 2, and then do 3 double crochets in the middle. 1, 2, 3. And then chain 2. So this is the basics of the, where's my first stitch? This one. Of the lace. It was designed with 2 rows of puff stitches, but when my sister started making it, they were like, can we make it longer? And I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. So my yellow sample only has panels of 2 rows, but by the time I got to the pink one, I think I did 5 rows on mine. So, you know, feel free to keep repeating this as much as you want to. And then when you're ready to work in pattern again, then you're going to work with single crochets and just single crochet in every stitch. And inside every chain space, that's a chain 2 space, so do 2 single crochets. And that should bring you back to the same amount of stitches, and you'll be able to continue in the extended single crochet, well, central extended single crochet, chain 1 pattern. And that's that. That's how we do the lace. Do you guys have any questions about this? Great. I hope that's a good sign. And Laura says, no issues with a larger hook for me as a test. So did you use the same hook on the body than on the lace, and Laura?
No, I used a different one, as you mentioned in the
Okay,
yeah,
so you went down and you didn't have any issues. Great, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, honestly, when I was doing it, I didn't try that hard. Like, I just picked a hook and I was like, yeah, I think this feels right when it comes to width on my swatch. Like, it didn't feel like it was stretching out too much. So I just kept with that one. I didn't play too much. It was very easy. So I think as long as you don't stretch it too much, you should be okay with a 3.5. What else can we talk? Oh, yes. How to modify the pattern. Okay, so the pattern comes with loads of different instructions for how to modify the pattern. But I want to go over them real quick, just so that it's nice and clear. And please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So in the pattern notes, Aida, these are the graphics for the stitch. So you can see the V's, where they're gonna go, at the front and the back, and what it should look like when it's finished. So all of this is on your pattern, okay? Okay, so modifying the pattern, it's not that difficult, but it's something that I really, really want people to kind of explore doing, especially if you're kind of experienced making garments, because our bodies are not all standard, right? We are all different sizes. So this pattern is based on the yarn craft council standards, and they might not fit you. So the first thing that you need to do is measure your body and then compare that to the pattern sizes. So our most important measurement is shoulders and bust. Those are the most important things. And then after that comes sleeves. So if you measure your shoulders, it should be from the bones, not like this t-shirt is supposed to have sleeves, but if I measured all the way from where my sleeves start, I'm too low already. So you have to really kind of push into your body and see where your bones are and measure from the back, okay? And that measurement should be 3 to 5 centimeters or 1.25 to 2 inches smaller. Well, the garment needs to be smaller than your actual body, okay? Because you got to remember that your shoulders will expand and you don't want shoulders that start down here. All right, so we want it to be up here. So that's your initial measurement. Once you choose that one, you can use the sizes from here. Okay, so God, I don't have. I swear my children play with my measuring tapes because here's one. It's great. Oh no, it's broken, of course. And then I had another one earlier and I took it downstairs for something. I'm so sorry, guys. Well, I don't have it. Okay, I'm really sorry. Okay, so doesn't matter. What happened? Ah, sorry, my computer kind of got confused. Okay, so my shoulders measure about, I think it was 44 centimeters or 45 centimeters. Oh, I'm very angry at me for not having a measuring tape. So I've gone for a size 2, which is 41 to 43 centimeters. So that's about, sorry, no. My shoulders measure 42, yes. And the shoulders on, I remember now. And the shoulders on the pattern is 37. So that's about 5 centimeters less than my actual shoulders. That's why I chose size 4. I could have gone with size 5 as well. Size 5 would have fit me fine. And the whole point is for you to choose the size that you have to modify the least, right? So my shoulders, I could have gone for 4 or 5, but my bust is 100 centimeters. If I had gone for 5, that would have been a lot bigger than my bust. So that's why I stuck with a 4. Okay, and my sleeves as well, my upper arm circumference, I think I measure about 33, I want to say, centimeters. So the upper arm of number 4 was fine for me. However, if you are not sure, and let's say that you're like a 4 for sure on the shoulders, or actually let's go a bit lower. Let's say that you're a 3 on the shoulders, but you also measure 100 centimeters at the bust. If you only have 4 centimeters of positive ease, it will not be wide enough. So you want to increase your bust circumference. Then that's where modifying the pattern comes in. That way your shoulders won't be saggy and you will have enough space around the bust. So there are a few ways to do this. In the pattern, it comes with 3 different methods of doing it. And the first thing you need to figure out is by how much. So right now in our example in the pattern, I see it right here. Hold on. Here. So in our example, let's say that we are working with a size 2 and it's 93.5, but I want 100 centimeters on my bust. So then I'm figuring out 100 minus 93.5. I need to increase my bust circumference by 6.5 centimeters. And using these formulas, I can figure out how many stitches that is. So in this case, it's 15 stitches that I need to increase to reach those 6.5 centimeters. Because we are working with these V increases and O increases and this stitch pattern, 15 centimeters is a really hard number. So we're going to go to 16. We need an even number. Okay. So for this imaginary person that wants to do size 2 because her shoulders are a size 2, but her bust is too small on size 2, she needs more space around her bust, we're going to increase 16 stitches. Okay. Now, depending on what you are, you might need to reduce your bust. Maybe you are very broad shoulders. So you are a size 3 in shoulders, but you're actually a size 2 in bust. That's great. Then take those away. All right. But make sure that you measure yourself and that you're really happy with every single part of the body. The 3 methods to modify the pattern is adding extra underarm chains. This is the easiest one. Right? So when you get to the end of the yoke and you have your underarm chains, if you want to increase 8 stitches around the bust, then you would just do 4 here and 4 here. That adds 8 stitches, right? Now you have to be careful that if you add 4 stitches here, you will also be adding them to the sleeve. And if you don't want to modify the sleeve, then you already added 4 stitches. So you don't want to do that, right? But it's a very easy way to modify things. Method 2 is to add increases on the first row after the underarm. So after you separate your yoke, you work your underarm chains just like the pattern says. Then on the very first row of the body, on the underarm, instead of working it straight in pattern, you add a few increases right there. So you increase 2 or 4 or 6, however many on each side, just not too many because it might feel a bit like, you know, if you go a bit crazy, like 16 stitches, it's a lot to increase. All right. But if you do 4 on each side, then that's 8 stitches fixed and you don't have to worry about those 8 stitches, right? The method 3 is the funnest, I think, and that is modifying the table to increase the yoke. And that is simply adding increases throughout the table so that you can incorporate it into the yoke itself. The way we would do that is really fun. So on this example, she is size 2, right? So where is size 2? Here it is. Let me just, there. Okay. So in this example, oh, let's see. Ooh. Okay. So in this example, we need to increase 16 stitches, right? That's a lot of stitches, but we can do it. So we're going to increase them on the front and on the backs because that's the bust. And we can also increase at the neck if we want to. Okay. So in that case, we're going to increase a few times, right? So let's say we put 1 more here and 1 more here. And hold on, that's so each neck increases on 2 sides. So that's 1 stitch, 1 stitch. That's 2 stitches. So this is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There, it says 16 stitches. So at the back, we increase at each side of the back. So that's 2 stitches per increase. At the front, it's 2 stitches per increase. At the neck, it's 1 stitch per increase. Add it to the total body. Add it to the total body. Yeah, 2. Sorry, it's 2 as well. 1, 2, 2 necks, 2 fronts, 2 backs. Yeah, so it's 2 each. Sorry, guys. So in this case, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's only 12 stitches. So I need 2 more, right? So let's say 1 more here and 1 more here. There you go. So I've increased there's 2 increases at the front, so that's 4. There's 3 increases at the front, so that's 6. And there's 3 increases at the back, so that's 6 as well on the backs. Yeah, you with me there? So each increase is 1 side of the back, so that's 6 increases. Yeah? So now I have increased all 16 stitches. Now the tricky part here is to make sure that I have VO, 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 VO alternate, and that I finish with a V. So this might take a little bit of playing. In this case, I have V, O, V, O, V, O, V, O, V, O. Oh, I don't finish with a V, do I? Okay, so then I can probably put another one here, and I'm going to remove this one and this one, and I'm going to add one more here. Okay, and I think that should be it. So V, let me use a different color. So V, O, V, O, V, O, V, O, V, O, V, O. And there you go. Just like that, I increased 16 stitches to my bust. I know it seems complicated, but all you have to do is just kind of sit down and really think about it. Where do you want these stitches to go? You want them on the bust. Okay, put them on the front and the backs. If you want to increase on the sleeves, then you have to consider that each increase on the sleeve is 4 stitches that you are adding to your total yoke count, but it's only 2 stitches at each sleeve, right? And then just add those stitches there. And that way your yoke will actually look even, and you won't have any discrepancies between the way your yoke looks and the way it feels around your bust, or it might be a bit too tight around the shoulders if you're not increasing within the yoke properly. So all of those things are the things that you consider. There's also chart. If you feel like it's too complicated doing it with the chart that you have, there's also an empty chart at the bottom. And this one is here for you to just do from scratch and just kind of copy the rhythm. So if you saw here, the neck increases are done evenly throughout the whole yoke. Now the front increases start at the bottom. Well, you can't really tell with size 9 because it's quite a large size and there's a lot of increases, but front increases and back increases are done at the bottom. Sleeve increases are done quickly at the top, quickly at the bottom, and slowly in the middle. So knowing that and knowing how many stitches you need to have, you can do the same thing in this empty chart and just organize them however you want to, as long as you have VO, VO, VO. Okay. Now, this is not something that maybe everyone can do just like that. And if you need extra help to like figure out your own measurements for your size, I'm happy to help you by email. There's also the Coco Jacket Masterclass that has the same exact construction, and I go through how to modify the sizes like in detail. There's like a whole hour video or something like that where I go through all of this in like really, really clear detail. So that's an option too, especially if you're someone that struggles to find the right size or the right fit for your garments, and like everything just feels quite average, and you're not an average person, like none of us are, right? So yeah, that's there if you wanted to check it out. But I'm always happy to help if you feel like, okay, Sandra, I need to increase by 4 stitches, can you help me where to put them? Then I can give you a hand. But definitely give it a read, give the pattern a read, and then just consider your options to make sure that it fits right, because that's the worst thing when you finish something and it doesn't fit just right. And I created something to hopefully allow for that. We'll see. I hope so. I hope you guys take advantage of it. But yeah, does anybody have any questions? That was a lot of stuff in 1 hour, but I really wanted to cover as much as I could so that people would feel more prepared for this garment. Yeah, do you guys have any questions? Great. And I'm really sorry if you're overwhelmed. Just remember that all of these modifications that I've done is things that you can do yourself in other garments as well, especially a top-down garment. Like if you're like, oh, it's too small around the bust, just add stitches on the underarm. It won't like, as long as there's not like a stitch pattern that will be interrupted, just make sure that if you need multiples of 8 stitches, that you have multiples of 8 stitches. But adding a couple of increases at the underarms, either on the sleeves or on the bust, won't make a huge difference, and it will make a big difference in fit. If you're working a raglan, for example, and you know you need extra stitches at the bust, just do increase 2 instead of increase 1 from time to time to add more stitches at the bust than at the sleeves. You know, it's it's just a game, isn't it? And like as designers, we kind of try to find a balance so that it's written in a way that is easy to follow, but also has the right fit. So as a maker, it's your kind of prerogative to adapt garments to fit you. And I'm here to help. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble about crochet. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Yeah, Aida, did you have something to say? I saw that you.
Oh, no, not really. I just want to say that what I think is so great about this is I can watch this now, and then when I actually get my yarn and get the gauge and everything, I can watch it again and go through all these things. So I really appreciate that
I hope
option.
so, Aida. Great. Well, yeah, this is a great resource, I think. And even if not many people came today, hopefully people will catch up when they're ready to make it and when they have more time to sit down and go through all of these things. So yeah. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much for coming and for listening and participating. And I will see you next time, okay? Next hangout is in 2 weeks, and it's just hangout, okay? So come prepared to chat if you want to. Bring a glass of wine, bring tea, bring your yarn, and we'll just like hang out, okay? So hopefully we can get to know each other better, and it's not just me chatting like a crazy person. All right. See you guys. Have a good night. Thank you for coming.